The year was 1930. A small South American nation called Uruguay hosted the very first FIFA World Cup. Only 13 teams showed up. There were no televisions, no internet, no billions of viewers. Just a handful of nations, a leather ball, and a dream that would change the world forever. Today, the FIFA World Cup is the most watched sporting event on the planet. More than 5 billion people tuned in to watch the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. That is more than half of every single human being alive on Earth. No Super Bowl, no Olympics, no other competition even comes close. But how did we get here? How did a small tournament in Uruguay grow into the greatest show on Earth? This is the complete history of the FIFA World Cup. Chapter 1. The beginning. Before the World Cup existed, football was already spreading like wildfire across the globe. The sport had been born in England in 1863 when the Football Association wrote down the first official rules. Within decades it had spread to South America, Europe, Africa, and beyond. Football was included in the Olympics starting in 1900. But the Olympic tournament was messy. Only amateur players were allowed. Professionals were banned. And FIFA, the international football governing body founded in 1904, wanted something bigger. Something that belonged entirely to football. In 1928, FIFA President Jules Rimet pushed for a standalone World Cup tournament. The idea was approved. Now they needed a host. Several European nations applied. But the journey across the Atlantic Ocean was expensive and took weeks by ship. FIFA awarded the first World Cup to Uruguay, who had won the Olympic football gold medal in both 1924 and 1928. Uruguay also offered to pay all travel expenses for visiting teams. Only 13 teams made the trip. 4 from Europe. 9 from the Americas. The tournament kicked off on July 13, 1930. The United States actually made it to the semifinals, which almost nobody knows today. The final was played between Uruguay and Argentina. Over 68,000 fans packed the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo. Uruguay won 4-2. Jules Rimet handed over a small golden trophy. The world had its champion. Chapter 2. The Prewar Years. The Second World Cup was held in Italy in 1934 under the shadow of Benito Mussolini's fascist government. Italy won on home soil in controversial circumstances, with referees accused of favoring the hosts. Italy won again in France in 1938, becoming the first back-to-back World Cup champions. Then the Second World War broke out. The World Cup was put on hold for 12 years. An entire generation of footballers never got the chance to compete on the biggest stage. Chapter 3. Brazil 1950 and the Maracanazo. The World Cup returned in 1950, hosted by Brazil. The Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro was built specifically for the tournament and held over 200,000 people. It remains the largest football stadium ever constructed. Brazil were overwhelming favorites to win. In the final match, they only needed a draw against Uruguay to be crowned champions. The whole country had already started celebrating. Newspapers had printed special editions declaring Brazil world champions. Then Uruguay scored twice in the second half. The stadium fell silent. 200,000 people went completely quiet all at once. Uruguay won 2-1 in what became known as the Maracanazo, the Maracana blow. It remains one of the greatest upsets in sporting history. Several Brazilian players never fully recovered from the trauma. The goalkeeper Barbosa was blamed by the nation for the rest of his life. Chapter 4. The Pele Era. In 1954, West Germany defeated Hungary in what was called the Miracle of Bern. Hungary had been unbeaten for 4 years and were considered the greatest team on earth. West Germany beat them 3-2 in one of the biggest shocks the tournament had ever seen. Then came 1958 and the arrival of a 17-year-old boy from Brazil named Edson Arantes do Nascimento. The world would come to know him simply as Pele. Pele scored 6 goals in the 1958 tournament in Sweden, including 2 in the final against the host nation. He became the youngest player ever to score in a World Cup final. Brazil won 5-2. The world had never seen anything like him. Brazil won again in 1962 even without a fully fit Pele, who was injured early in the tournament. Then in 1966 England hosted and won their only ever World Cup title, defeating West Germany 4-2 in extra time at Wembley. The English still talk about it to this day. The 1970 World Cup in Mexico is widely considered the greatest tournament of all time. Brazil played some of the most beautiful football the world had ever witnessed. Pele, Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivellino. Every single player was a genius. Brazil won every single game. Their 4-1 victory over Italy in the final was a masterpiece. They were awarded the Jules Rimet Trophy permanently, having won it 3 times. Chapter 5. New champions in chaos. The 1970s and 1980s brought new champions and unforgettable moments. West Germany won in 1974 on home soil. Argentina won their first title in 1978, also on home soil, amid heavy political controversy as the country was under military dictatorship. Italy won again in 1982 with one of the most beloved teams in World Cup history. Paolo Rossi came back from a match-fixing ban to score 6 goals in 3 games and carry Italy to glory. But 1986 belongs entirely to one man: Diego Armando Maradona. Argentina's captain was arguably the greatest player of all time at his absolute peak in Mexico. His solo goal against England, where he dribbled past 6 players across 60 meters of pitch, was voted the goal of the century. In the same match he scored the infamous Hand of God goal, punching the ball into the net with his fist and getting away with it. Maradona dragged an average Argentina team to the World Cup trophy almost entirely by himself. It was a performance that has never been equaled before or since. Chapter 6. The Modern Era. West Germany won again in 1990 in a dull but effective tournament in Italy. The 1994 World Cup in the United States ended in the first ever penalty shootout final, with Brazil defeating Italy. Roberto Baggio, Italy's greatest player, stepped up for the decisive penalty and blazed it over the bar. He stood with his head bowed as Brazil celebrated around him. That image became one of sport's most iconic photographs. France won in 1998 on home soil with Zinedine Zidane scoring twice in the final. Brazil fell apart after Ronaldo suffered a mysterious seizure the night before the final and played nowhere near his best. The 2002 World Cup in Japan and South Korea brought remarkable upsets. Senegal knocked out France. South Korea reached the semifinals. And Brazil, led by a fully recovered Ronaldo, won their 5th World Cup title. Italy won in 2006 after one of the most dramatic tournaments in history. The final against France ended with Zinedine Zidane being sent off for headbutting Marco Materazzi in extra time in the last game of his career. Italy won on penalties. Spain dominated from 2008 to 2012, winning 2 European Championships and the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Andrés Iniesta's extra-time winner in the final against Netherlands made an entire nation cry. Germany finally ended their long wait with a stunning 4-0 victory over Argentina in the 2014 final in Brazil. But nothing prepared the world for what happened in the semifinals. Germany defeated the host nation Brazil 7-1. In Brazil. In front of Brazilian fans. It remains the most shocking result in World Cup history. Chapter 7. Qatar 2022 and Messi's destiny. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar was the most dramatic tournament ever played. Saudi Arabia defeated Argentina in the group stage. Morocco became the first African nation to reach the semifinals. And Lionel Messi finally got his moment. After 36 years of waiting, Argentina faced France in the final. Argentina led 2-0 with 10 minutes to go. Then Kylian Mbappé scored twice in 2 minutes to level the match. Then scored again in extra time to make it 3-3. Messi responded with another goal. Penalties. Messi went first. He scored.